All right, Parashat Black. Black shelter. Parashat Balak. I'm not going to talk this year about Bilam and this. I'm tired of this guy. So I'm not going to talk about Bilam. At least I'll try not to. Maybe here and there, but nothing major. I found something that was interesting, and then I want to share it with you. We all sin. We all sin. Some more than others, some more frequent than others, different severities, but we all sin. We sin against our obligations, learning Torah, and so on and so forth. That's a sin. We sin for our desires, for our ambitions, to our loyalty. And we all know, all around us, phenomena of heresy, and people going off the path, off the derech, what people call in Israel chazara b'she'ela, not chazara b'tshuva, chazara b'she'ela. There's no such thing, chazara b'she'ela. That's the most idiotic thing. But Israelis, they make up things, chadashot lo bekarim. Now, if you're going to talk about the perfect sinner, right, the ultimate sinner, the ideal sinner, we have a person that is already, a person who sins in all levels of interaction. He violates all the prohibitions in the Torah. He breaks all barriers of morality. Doesn't believe in God, and so on and so forth. I can see your ugly faces better. However, the question should be asked: what comes first? I mean, I know what comes first. The egg or the chicken? Anybody knows, by the way?
The chicken.
Yeah, the chicken, because God did not create eggs, He created chickens and lay eggs. But you know what I'm saying. What came first here? What causes a person to all of a sudden say, that's not for me, I'm out of here? As we said yesterday, what causes a kid to all of a sudden, at the age of 13 and 3/4 days, to say to his father, I'm not fasting, I don't want to do it? What happens? A person doesn't get up in the morning, like, for example, you shomer Torah mitzvot, right? Yeah, I sure hope so. Do you think you're going to get up tomorrow morning and say, it's not for me? I don't think so. Are you going to get up like this in the morning? It's too much. How about you, Rebs? You're going to say, not for me? No? Zalman, maybe it's like too much heat, he can't do it. And Zalman is used to everybody making nice to him. Zalman, you're such a smart guy. Here he comes in, whack, whack. Maybe, I don't know. A little mefunak, spoiled. By the way, that's one of the reasons that people, one of the reasons that people go off the path is because they're simply spoiled. Because their mummies spoiled them rotten to get everything they want whenever they wanted. They never had to work for anything. But now somebody says to him, no, so it's not for me. You can't do this. What do you mean I can't do that? Not for me. You want come closer this way. Oh, okay. Not a problem. So if we think about it this way, what is the domino block? By the way, nobody knows who Zalman is. It's okay. There's many Zalmans. Zalman Schneer, Zalman Minadi, Zalman Shlomo Michnasayim, many Zalmans. But what was the domino block, the initial domino that actually started the whole domino effect? What was this flake of snow that went out of place that started the whole avalanche? Something triggered that. Things don't just happen like this, out of the blue, all of a sudden. Something triggered that. Was it the desires and urges that cause us to believe differently, to have different opinions and different thoughts and concepts all of a sudden? Was that? I mean, in other words, if I desired, I don't know, what could I desire? It's I'm a vegan, so it's very difficult for me to desire forbidden things. I don't know.
good bourbon with cherry caskets.
This is not a desire. I can get good bourbon without cherry caskets. No, I don't know. Wait, coming a taiva. I don't know. Let me think. Something like bizarre. I don't know. Burger with melted blue cheese and fried bacon on top. I don't care. Okay. So let. Yeah, but okay. So what caused that? I mean, the fact that I wanted to eat a burger with cheese on top, that caused me all of a sudden not to believe in God? I mean, if you think about it, it just doesn't make sense. So was it something that I was thinking? What happened? What happened all of a sudden? I was thinking this all the time, and all of a sudden, one day I'm just went to the other side. What happened here? And this question needs to be asked. Is it our intellectual doubts that we have all the time that led us to the decline of our actions? Or there are actions that cause the decline of our thoughts and our emunah and our belief? And as educators, and we are all educators, different level of education, a different responsibility, but nevertheless, we are all educators, whether we educate others, in terms of strangers, in terms of our kids, or whether we are our own self-educators. What are you teaching yourself? And so therefore, being all educators, these are the questions that we must ask in order to be able to address the problem. Because if there is a behavior and the behavior is wrong, we need to figure out what was the trigger that initiated that behavior in order to be able to fix it. Because if I'm just going to address the behavior without understanding what triggered that behavior, I'm never going to be able to fix it. I need to understand what's the trigger that caused that. And that's a very important concept to understand, because we always miss that. And we say, okay, I'm bad at that, so I'll do this. But you never says, what caused me to come to do that? Now, there's no answer. The answer is because it's different. Every person is different. Every person has different triggers. Every person has different mechanism that goes inside of him, and nature and nurture and all the other wonderful things that they teach you in psychology. Every person is different. However, there's something very interesting in this week's parasha that could teach us a lot about the topic, and that comes at the end of the parasha. As far as I'm concerned, the way I look at it this year, I don't know, next year's going to be different, but as I look at it this year, the whole story of Balak and Bilam and the cursing and the donkey and this and the whole entire thing is just an introduction to what happens in few psukim at the end of the parasha. And that is where I have a problem, because something here does not make sense to me. So with your permission, I'll show you. And the pasuk says like this: Vayashav Yisrael b'shittim. Period. Or comma. And Am Yisrael, and deliberately putting those comma in, and Am Yisrael sat in a place called Shittim. Maybe Shotim is fools, but there were Shittim. I'd say Shita, like willows over there. They sat in the place called Shittim. So they're sitting there. And then there is something strange. Then the pasuk says, "Vayachel ha'am liznot et bnot Moab." And all of a sudden, they just started, like out of the blue, to fornicate with the Moabite girls. I don't know, 1 second. What is this, like a truck stop that you go over there and you get like road service? I don't understand. And they just started all these. Is it maybe some energy to the place that did that? You know, what's been New Age? We put crystals and you know, there, shamans and purifications and, you know, smudging. Is the place that did it to them? It just doesn't make sense. And then it says further in, it becomes even more weird. They start to fornicate with the Moabite girls, and then they say, "Vatikan ala'am lisboach le'Elohem." And then the girls, the Moab babes, called to the Bnei Israel, let's come worship God. That doesn't make sense. I mean, we know from the Midrash, and we said the Midrash it was the other way around. They went to worship the gods, and then they went to, they did the honky-tonking. And then it is more weird. And so not only they worship idols, they also ate with them. They didn't call you to eat. Well, I mean, if you want to do whatever you want to do with a Moabite girl, pay the dues and go home. Apparently that doesn't case. All of a sudden, it goes like that. Vayitzamed Israel leBaal Peor, and then all of a sudden, Vayitzamed, and they were attached to the idol worshipping. It's called Baal Peor. Vayichar af Hashem b'Yisrael, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu got angry at the Jews. I mean, looks like somebody who did the cut and paste didn't do it appropriately. It should say like this: and Bnei Israel set in Shittim, and they start to eat with the Moabite girls, and then they start to worship the gods, and then they slept with them. That's the end of the story. Or slept with them, then they worship God. So it just doesn't make sense. So we need to understand what was the foundation of this sin. The chet of Bnei Israel, the sin of the Israelites in the desert, had two foundations to it. Arayot. What's arayot? Not arayot be'alef. Arayot, imayin. Ayin. Ma ze arayot?
What's the relationship?
Huh?
What's the relationship?
Yes. Yeah, what's that?
No.
And avodah zarah. What's avodah zarah?
Idol worshiping.
Maybe. Idol worshipping, we say avodah zarah, idol worshipping. However, it should say avodah zarah, should say avodat elilim, worshipping of idols. That's idol worshipping, right? Avodat elilim. Avodah zarah is foreign worshipping, something that it's not. And Rabotai, that's very important to understand. Maybe it'll make more sense towards the end. So anything that you do that is not according to the written law, here my conservative and reformed brethren, is idol worshipping. So, but is there a correlation between Arayot and Avodah Zarah? We spoke about it many times regarding Kabbalah. Maybe if we have some time, we'll touch it in the back at the end. And the Medrash says something different. The Medrash says the following: Na'ara yotzet mekushet umevusemet umefata ota. A girl comes out pretty, she has all the hairdos and the hair and the nails, and she put perfume like this. She smells good, and then she seduces him. But how? Look at it, so beautiful. What does the Medrash say? How does she seduce him? She doesn't say, hey, handsome, well, the hanky-panky. She doesn't tell him that. What did she say? She says to him, and she seduces him, but she says the following: Lama anu ohavim etchem ve'atem sonim otanu. Why is it that we love you and you hate us? That's temptation. Alevai aleinu kaze davar. That's temptation. Apparently so. Lama, why do we love you? We care about you, and you hate us. Tol lecha kli ze chinam. Here, I love you so much. Take this vessel that I'm selling here. Take it for free, or take that for free. Whatever it is that you want to take for free. Halo kulanu bnei ish echad. We are all the children of one person. Bnei terach. Avi Avraham, because Moab, right? And Terah, they were Lot, and we're family. We are family. You know the song? Yeah. אין אתם רוצים לאכול מזבחנו מבשולנו? Don't you want to eat from our food? And don't you want to eat from our delights that we make? I mean, we're all family here. How many times some of you have heard that? What? It's not good for you. I'm your aunt. Right? With all due respect, dear auntie, I have an ant, I have a cockroach, I have many things, right? With all due respect to you, it's not kosher. But you're right. Don't you want to eat from what we serve and what we cook? Immediately, miyad mashkau hayayin, immediately she gives him wine. What do you mean she gives him wine? She opens his mouth like this and she pours wine down his throat. We need to understand here. Guys, all the answers to all your questions are there. The problem is not that you don't ask the questions. The problem is you don't want to hear the answers. So immediately she lets him drink the wine. Ubo erbo asatan, and the devil is burning inside of him. In other words, the wine got over him. Now it's all good, tranquilo. Mi casa tu casa, mi Wi-Fi tu Wi-Fi, kol tov v'yafeh, right? It's all good. Haya nishta acharea. Nishta acharea, also milshon shoteh, but he was cruising after her. Kevan she'aya tov'a, since he said to him, come to daddy now, sit on my lappy, right? You know what I'm saying? He demanded her. She said to him, Ein nishmat lecha ad shetishchat ze lepeor v'tishtachaveh elav. I'm not going to hand myself over to you until you're going to sacrifice this, whatever it is that she has there, a goat or a chicken, whatever it is, to the avodah zarah, to peor. I'm not going to hand myself over. And you should bow down to him. And he says, La'avodat kochavim eineni mishtachaveh. To idols, I don't bow down. She said to him, bow down, shechten, bow down. So he is the hero. Homie, don't do that. So then she says to him, okay, it's okay. En ata ela kemegale atzmecha. Don't, fine, guess what? Pull your pants down and worship Peor in the appropriate way. Right? Vehu nishta acharea ve'oseken. Because the avodah, the idol worshipping of Peor was a very bizarre avodah zarah. How you do the avodah zarah of Peor? Very nice. You make yourself a smoothie from green stuff that gives you the run. And you drink a lot of the stuff, and you're supposed to expose yourself to the avodah zarah, to the statue of Peor, and you defecate all over Peor. And if you want to do mehadrin, the Gemara says you clean yourself with his nose. That's tzaddik. In other words, the essence of avodah zarah, of that avodah zarah, which we said many times, is what would it take from you to do something like this? To say, you know what? I don't care about you. I don't care about you. I don't care about anything. I'll do what I want. Even though the avodah zarah per se is gone from this world, however, the method or the concept behind it, that I'll do what I want and I don't care, still exists today. You want an example? Go to Tel Aviv during, Gay Day parade. That's avodah zarah. That's Baal Peor. I don't care how much kippah you put on your head, and I don't care how many Magen David you put on your fag flag. You're an idol worshiper. With all the rainbows and stuff like that. Okay? So that's what he does to her immediately. Now, which is very interesting because those Midianites, right, didn't send to Am Yisrael the greatest philosophers, the theologists. They didn't send their own Lord Rabbi Sachs to talk to them over there in order to have deep, theological conversation about interfaith, discussions until the middle of the night, until Rabotenu, Giazman, they didn't send that. They had their own theologists. They had their own, Who did they send? They sent the babes. Commando babes. They sent the girls. the nice girls, the pretty girls. And why did they do so? They do so in order to direct themselves and to expose the darkest aspects in mankind. Rabotai, that happens today too. Anywhere you go and you see a sexy advertisement, a hinting advertisement, that goes to the darkest point inside of you. You should feel very upset that people think so low of you, that they think that you could betray your core belief to some kind of a thing like that. But there's no difference between that and this. They send the most beautiful girls to bring about the darkest filth inside each and every one of us. We all have it. And there will be forces out there that will try constantly to bring this about in you. Bring it out. They try to expose the sexual urge, the desire of flesh, and it worked. It worked like a charm. Bnei Israel worship Baal Peor, not because of theological difficulties and concept, not because of doubts that they have in their emunah, that they bother them. Can God create a rock in which He can't live? I mean, that's such a stupid question. How old is the universe? Right? Not something so, it's a free choice. If God knows, if He gives me free choice, how does it... You know, this is really dumb questions. They didn't send them to that. They didn't worship from that. But they worship from the initial urge, this primitive, brute urge of a man to a woman, which happens today all the time. And this could be the core idea of our story. It's not the sechel, it's not the brain, it's the yetzer, it's the desire. However, you should know that also a person who is oved avodah zara, is an idol worshipper, what we call, and is kofer ba'ikar, he disacknowledges everything. He also goes after his desires first, and only that convince himself in his crooked mind, in his opinions. And it says, Lo avdu Israel avodah zara, ela kedei lehatir lahem et ha'arayot. The only reason why the Jews became off the beaten path, they left God, it wasn't because worshiping God was a problem. Because they wanted Moabite and Midianite babes. They wanted forbidden sexual interactions. That's why they did that. It's mind-boggling. And I'm going to tell you that most of the people are not that smart to come up with philosophical questions about God. Oh, most of the people, what they do is repeat some chewed up rhetoric that they don't even know how to start if I'm going to give them an answer. Because they don't want to, they're not capable of. I'm an atheist. You know what atheist means? You're not an atheist, you're a buffoon. You want everything to be allowed to you. You are a spoiled brat. How did you become such a brat? I don't want to do that. Anybody asked you? So when I tell you that, you get all insulted. Still does not change the fact that you are a spoiled brat. Why are you getting insulted? After all, it's your desires that are out of control. I don't want to fast. Why don't you want to fast? Oh, it doesn't mean anything to me. It really doesn't mean anything to you? No, you just want to eat. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Why? Not because of an idea. Because you're simply out of control. But look at this. You're going to be a total failure throughout your life because you can't even have control over your own self. So what are you going to do in return? You're going to try to control everybody else because you have a need to control. So why won't you take this need to control and apply it to yourself? Why are you trying to control everybody? And you are the only one out of control. You ever think about that? But I'll tell you that you get insulted. But that's too bad. Drink cold water and move on. Fix yourself. And if we look a little deeper, we see that that story is a little bit more complicated than what it is. Because after the initial attraction of the Jew to the Midianite girl, she says to him a spiritual claim. She claims to him, right? He sees that she's beautiful, right? So, woo, that's nice. I'll tell you, I had friends that fought in Lebanon during the what's called the First Lebanon War, and they told me this is exactly what happened there many times. Lebanon more than other places. That's exactly what happened. So after he noticed her and he got physically attracted to her, then she applies to his mind. And that's the key. Now look at this. Why do you hate us? Aren't we all one family? And only after he has what? Nothing to answer her. Only after that, he's agreeing to drink from the wine. Because she asked him, why do you hate us? Aren't we all one family? He goes, bah. He goes, bah. She goes, here's the wine. He said, hi, cheers. Drink for that, bottoms up. And as soon as he drinks the wine, all of a sudden the alcohol does what alcohol does. It takes off the edge. And then your life is on the edge. And he already, once he got the wine in, he goes to the point, Rabotai, of no return. The point of no return. If you take so far what we said and apply it to the halachot that we have, you're going to see how wonderful Chachamim are, how wise, how brilliant, how much they loved us. And it's the same thing as a parent. When your parent tells you something for your benefit, it's not because your parent wants something done to confine. I mean, there's some lunatic parents, but we're not talking about this. If your father tells you something, it's basically for your own good sake. Because why? Because he likes you. The neighbor doesn't tell you anything. Your father does. So why don't you listen to your father? If your father tells you, listen, stop smoking. It's not good. Don't smoke. Ah, shut up, daddy. You know, I don't know better than you. Habibi, you don't know. Look, my father is dying from smoking. My father, Gedalia Moreno ben Matilda. And it's because of the smoking. So now you know better? No, I don't want to hear from it. Daddy, you want to control me. That's why. Habibi, don't smoke weed. You're gonna be shooting blanks. You're gonna go crazy. No, Daddy, you don't know you want to control me. No, it's not. Listen to what I'm telling you. Because I love you. It's not because of anything else. But when you go to this point of no return, this point of no return. So in other words, if you think about it, if you look at it carefully, the yetzer, the urge, is a very strong power. And at a certain point, once it picks up momentum, you can't stop it. It cannot be stopped. In the Gemara, it says that even from the halachic point of view, a person could become anus. In other words, forced by, not to be held responsible when the Yetzer overcome him so much to the point that he couldn't control even his own Yetzer. The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says, "Im yireh adam sheyitzro mitgaber alav," a person sees he's overcome or overconsumed by his Yetzer, wear black clothes, cover your head, go to a place that nobody knows you, do what you need to do, and then come back. There, Gemara in Avodah Zarah. But this Yetzer, we need to understand, as we said to you before, does not come overnight. It doesn't start all of a sudden. That desire of the Yetzer, this flaming of the Yetzer, is a gradual process that could be stopped. But you need to be aware of the changes in you. And that stop needs to be done specifically through the brain. That's why if you take somebody and you beat them up or you do scaring tactics, that does not work. You need to apply to his sechel. Talk to him. Why are you doing this? Give him some guilt. Give him some points to think. Apply the mind. Say, Ma, this is how bad it looks. Come, let me show you something. Only then it could be stopped by the sechel, by the intellect. And that's an unbelievable force. And that's why the Rambam writes, or the Gemara writes, Ein adam choteh ela nichnesa bo ruach shtut. A person would only sin when a stupidity mind will enter him. In other words, he stopped thinking. Ruach shtut, a shoteh. He's a... How do you call them today? Not retards. How do you call them today? Mentally challenged. Intellectually retard. Yeah, whatever, you got me. You can't say this, you can't say that. Intellectually challenged. What? Deficient. Okay. I also have a thyroid deficiency. Yeah, Dag. Now, if this Jewish boy, they went with the Midianite girls. If the Jewish boy would only know what to answer her, and you know why? Because he didn't learn. He didn't come to yeshiva. He didn't get his butt kicked. He didn't sit down and learn. He didn't sit down and ask questions. He didn't know what to answer. There's a halacha, dam alashiv le'apikoris. You have to know what to answer a heretic. And how are you supposed to know that? By going to law school? No, you learn. You become knowledgeable. Nobody can take you for a ride, as they say. You know what to answer. I told you today what Rav Belsky told a bunch of missionaries at the time. That's an answer. Well, you weren't here. Well, they were here. They got it. So if you only was able to tell this Midianite babe the following, it says clearly that we are the sons, we are the children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And our value, our world of core values does not allow us to eat or to interact with idol worship in such a fashion. Immediately this would have been stopped. There's nowhere to go from that. I'm sorry, I love you, you're a nice person, but I cannot eat with you. Bye. Arrivederci. I'm on my way. But a person like this, his world of emunah was not well organized. It was not well thought. It was not rich enough. Nobody taught him how to answer, how to deal with situations like this. Nobody taught him how to answer spiritual questions. And what do? We isolate everybody. Instead of isolation, that doesn't sound nice. Instead of isolation, give them ability to break through, to deal with. But you don't teach your kids how to deal with that. You don't teach them what to answer. You want them to just regurgitate information. And that's what happened when somebody asks him a question. And that's, by the way, a big problem. When a missionary comes knocking on your door and he asks you, do you know, sir, what it says in Isaiah 14 and Isaiah 53 and, Jehovah'sville, whatever, you say, Every missionary can quote you Psalm, Tehillim by heart. How many Tehillim do you know? Did you ever know that Ashrei is not Tehillah David? It's two different verses, two different places. How many Tehillim do you know by heart? Do you know who was first? Rechavam or Chizkiyahu? Do you know who was Rechavam? Who was Chizkiyahu? But to go and to tell you, you should learn this, you don't know Tanakh. מה כתוב בתנ"ך? יום אתה עובד, יום התנ"ך. See? You can laugh, You don't know your basics. So if you don't know your basics, somebody can come and give you the runaround, and they can tell you the Jews never lived in Israel. And they can sell you lies, and you as a buffoon will not be able to answer. Why don't you know Tanakh? You might know the Jets lineup, or the I don't know what, the Mets, or the whatever they are out there. What was the statistics of 1973 when the whatever won the World Series? Oh yeah, that was he was second base. I think it was 83.3. But you don't know your Aleph Bet of Tanakh. So comes a guy to you and it tells you, by the way, didn't you know that Jesus is mentioned or Mary is mentioned? They say, yes. Where does it mention? It says, Vatavo Alma, Vatavo Anara. The virgin came. Where's the virgin? It says here Alma. It says virgin. No, you don't know. I know how to read Hebrew, but there's no Betula here. It doesn't say a Betula, a virgin. It says Alma, a young girl. Famous missionary technique. You know Isaiah 53. I said, I know Isaiah 52 also. What, you know what it says there, Bichlal? Now get out of here. How come Isaiah 53 is not in your Haftarah? Because the same thing as Isaiah 14 is not in Haftarah. What is your business anyway? But you don't know. And then you say, wow, really? I didn't know that. The wine goes into your mouth. It's ignorance that makes you sin. Now, and because of that, he chose the easy way out. And the easy way out is what? Listen, you asked me a question. I don't know what it is. You caught me off guard. Well, you didn't catch me with my pants down yet, but soon they're going to be. So guess what? Let me drink the wine. I'll just hand myself over and goodbye and good luck. I'll completely put myself in my desires and so on and so forth. Nobody taught him how to answer those. Nobody told him how to answer and how to deal with the situation. Nobody prepared them to the world out there. When people tell you horrific stories about this or about that, then all of a sudden you go outside to the workplace and says, that's not so true. They're very nice people. What are you talking about? All of a sudden you shatter that. You have to explain to people the truth. I understand you want to protect people. But protecting people in such a way, the way that most of us do, is like putting a child in an oxygen tent. The first time he steps out of it, he dies. And it's the same thing to us. For example, in Israel, very few kids have allergies to peanuts. Why? Because from a very young age, they use this garbage, it's called bamba, which has peanuts on it. I'm not saying expose yourself to your kids to, God forbid, pornography or stuff like this, but teach them how to deal, because it's all over. Pornography is not just like a girl running around like a Chava before the sin. Pornography is in many hinted ways out there that you don't know how it enters you. And you have to show the kid, listen, this is your enemy and this is how you defend. We just stand there. And then the blows come and we fall. That's why you go to a dojo, right? Inside middle block, outside middle block, upper block, lower block, 5,000 a million times. And we should do the same thing. We don't do it, that's what happens. But you should know that also the Sefer Netivot Shalom has this point in him. We're almost done. Has this point the same. It says, and after he saw that after all his plans, Bilam, I told you we're going to talk about Bilam. After he saw all these tricks did not work to disconnect God from the Heavenly Father, and he couldn't curse them, he had in his mind to stumble the Jews, and how he's going to disconnect them from their attachment to God. That strong change that the Jews go through between our chapters, what we call Mi'igrar Rabba Lebora Mikta, from a high mountain to the pits, right, teaches us in Am Yisrael as a chariot for Hashem, for the divine. When Am Yisrael is holy, you cannot touch him. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov He saw how good the Jews are, how modest the Jews are, how much they love each other, and they respect each other's privacy. You can't hurt them. When the Jews are holy, you can hurt them. But when Am Yisrael strays away from Hashem and His mitzvot, then he becomes vulnerable. When he becomes vulnerable like this, only then you can disconnect him. How you do so? You disconnect him from God. You put some ideas in his head, slowly, and that grows into, it's like a seed that goes into the cement, and slowly, before you know, it cracks that, and you have this tree growing from a little seed that went there. And these are the things we have to worry about. And we should know that whoever put end to this behavior was Pinchas. Pinchas see what Zimri does, and he says, listen, enough is enough. A man's got to do what a man's got to do. I have to stop away this desecration of God out there. And in a spontaneous burst of emotions, he does what he does. And no wonder it comes to the end. Because the act of Pinchas as the end of Parashat Baal Peor teaches us not only what happened to us, but also how to deal with the Yetzer Hara of each and every one of us. And the Netivot Shalom says the following. Achen chafes Hashem yitbarach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants levalidach mimenu nidach, that no Jews would be lost from him, from under his auspices. No Jews. He doesn't want that. וגם במצב קשה, even in a difficult situation, השאיר הקדוש ברוך הוא דרך ועצה. He gave us a way and the method to do so. How? על ידי מסירות נפש. Dedicate yourself to Hashem. מסירת נפש, hand over your soul to Hashem. Not necessarily dying, yeah? שמכוחה, by this dedication to the actions of Hashem, יכול יהודי להיחלץ, every Jew could be saved, אף בהיותו מושקע כבר באבי אבות הטומאה, even if he's immersed at the bottom of the pit of impurity, if he decides to dedicate himself, like the story in the Gemara, and so on and so forth, without getting his, the guy put his head between his leg and he cried, read the story over there. Even then, at the bottom of the pit, when you decide to attach yourself to God, to direct all your actions, to leave your stupid fears and desires out and do what you need to do, and it starts, Rabotai, with learning. When you don't learn, that's the biggest problem. That's when you start falling. You are right now maybe Shomer Shabbat and doing mitzvot. However, if you don't place yourself here daily, giving up some other things, your downfall, Rabotai, had started. That's your beginning of your downfall. That koach of mesirut nefesh, the energy that it creates, is greater than all the sins and all the desires put together. And you need to understand, when a Jew walks and deals in Hashem and stands in front of Hashem b'mesirut nefesh, ein davar ha'omed keneged zeh. When you decide to give over all the other shenanigans and do what you need to do, and you direct your actions to God, nothing can stand in its way. Nobody will be able to stray you away from Hashem. That is called true love. Rabotai, pay attention. Shabbat Shalom.